Welcome to the Chase Down Podcast, part of the Cavs media family. I'm your host, Justin Rowan. The Chase Down is presented by Fubo, the official streaming partner of the Cavs. Watch over 350 channels of live sports and TV, including FanDuel Sports Network without cable. There's no cost and no commitment. Try for free at FuboTV.com/Cavs. The Cleveland Cavaliers bounced back with a dominant win over the Miami Heat. Coming off that loss where they did not shoot well, they shot the absolute cover off the ball. Jarrett Allen returned to the lineup. Evan Mobley had a bounce back game. It was everything you want from a Friday Cavs win, and everything I want from a co-host is joining me today. Carter Rodriguez, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I missed the game live. I spent the weekend with my collegiate men's glee club friends at a little bit of an alumni weekend, like all cool people did. So it was nice to.
Don't you always miss the game live?
No, not always. Just when I'm singing my little heart out with 40 of my best friends. But it was nice to kind of see them unjunk everything and just beat the absolute crap out of a Miami team that's not supposed to be in their league. I have been saying privately, like, isn't it going to be hilarious when Jarrett comes back and just every issue we have is resolved? Well, 1 for 1 so far, brother man.
He certainly did help make things feel a lot more normal. He only played 18 minutes in this game, but had 18 points, 10 rebounds, and a plus 18. 18 was the theme of the game for good old Jarrett. And I think the most encouraging thing was he looked spry out there, right?
Yeah.
Like, he was popping up quickly, the lob dunks, the every move. It wasn't like he was moving gingerly and
cleaned up some misses without having to, because sometimes you can get the first explosion, but the second, third are a little tough when your joints are hurting like that. So I thought he looked about as good as you could expect him to look. Good, held up really well defensively.
Yeah, and I thought one of the best indications that he is right and was moving well was that time that he contested a rebound with Evan, and the ball kind of squirted out to midcourt, and he chased that thing down. I think he threw it back to Sam Merrill, but he kind of walked the tightrope there, right? Like, if you're dealing with some pain or if you have some discomfort, you're not going to look that way on those kind of hustle plays, right? That kind of unexpected movement. So I thought that was an absolute win at a time where, from an injury standpoint, the Cavs are still dealing with some rough news. We got a status report today that both Jalen Tyson and Dean Wade will be out for the Cavs 3-game road trip. And I do want to get more into Jarrett's return and kind of the two big lineup and all that. But I'd rather start first talking about these guys being out for this trip, right? Because the Cavs only have 8 games left, realistically 7, when you consider what game 82 has historically been for teams around the NBA. So that really only leaves 4 games here for Jalen Tyson and Dean Wade to play. But you still have all these games ahead of you. There is still an opportunity to get some time together, particularly with this core 4 group. So I want to ask, with Dean Wade and Jalen Tyson out of the rotation, who kind of from the rotation fringe, or maybe even someone that's playing some minutes right now, would you like to see get more run and opportunity over this trip?
Honestly, I don't know if I look at it that way. I know that's a bit of a cop-out answer.
It is. It's embarrassing for you, but continue.
Because, at the end of the day, I'm just more interested in who gets the minutes with the 4 guys, and who's getting more minutes in those lineups that are going to be, reflective of a playoff run. Yeah. And because of that, my answer is going to be Sam Merrill. He got the start in the game against the Heat. I thought that was noteworthy. That he's continuing to get the nod, even with Max back. And Max playing very, very well. Please don't tell me we're not going to talk about that.
We are. We absolutely are.
But it still has been Sam, and those lineups are guarding pretty well. With him at the 3. I felt like he added a really great bit of dynamic playmaking alongside those 4. I made the case either last pod or a couple before that right now I'd close games with Sam alongside the top 4 guys, and I felt like I got a lot of good data points to suggest that would be a good idea in this game. I mean, he was uh it's really nice because you're going to run a lot of pick and roll with Jarrett or Evan setting and one of the guards being the creator, but being able to like do a double drag with Sam as the first of 2 screeners, and cause that initial panic to get your actual pick and roll a little extra juice, or to get use Sam slipping a guard screen at the top to get a favorable matchup early in the shot clock, and then being able to attack a Tyler Hero right away. With 17 seconds left on the shot clock, like it just opened up a lot of stuff for them, dude.
I think everything you said is true, right? Like I think how Sam looked out there was incredibly encouraging. I think you can get away with it, right? Like I think obviously you're giving up a little bit of size, but ultimately, you have 6'5" James Harden, you have 6'2", 6'3" Donovan Mitchell, and 6'4" Sam Merrill alongside the 2 bigs. I don't worry about that too much, particularly when you look at the competition that the Cavs are going to have over this stretch. The Lakers are playing really well since the All-Star break. I think that's actually going to be a legitimate test. But the game against Utah, that probably should be one that the Cavs win. The Golden State game, they are playing very poorly as of late, and availability is tough for them. I think neither of those teams are kind of equipped to kind of challenge you in that way. And I do think you're right in some regard to avoid my question and talk about who's going to start alongside the core 4, because I think it's important, right? Like that group has only played 103 possessions together this season. 56 of them have come with Dean Wade, 38 have come with Sam Merrill, 6 have come with Max Strus, and 3 with Jalen Tyson. Like whoever is playing, whoever plays those minutes is going to jump up to the top of the leaderboard even after these 3 games, right?
Yeah,
like
you're and whoever gets those minutes, it's really important minutes. I think that matters too. It's like there's no like, oh well, this is the known commodity. It's like everyone's going to be figuring stuff out no matter who's in that spot.
I think I'll get to who I think should start in a moment, but going back to my actual question about who I'd like to see get more run, I kind of go between Naquan Tomlin and Thomas Bryant. I think I'd like to see more Thomas Bryant, or at least continue Thomas Bryant, right? Like he's not really rotation fringe, but we saw with Jarrett out that Evan would get some opportunities to continue playing power forward alongside Thomas Bryant, even though he was starting at center. I think I would like to see that continue, right? Where, Mobley's playing alongside Jarrett, and then when Jarrett goes to the bench, have Thomas Bryant out there, right? Like continue to play with some size. I think that's important, right? Like even, I don't expect Utah to keep all of their guys out there.
Yeah, and by the way, Jarrett is not playing tomorrow night.
Oh, he's already been ruled out.
Yeah, he and perfect. Max have been ruled out.
Okay, that's great news, because I actually had that further down the rundown. I've been busy running around today, but with this being a back-to-back, I thought that made a lot of sense, because playing against the Lakers, I think that's the more important matchup. I think that you want to have as a litmus test, so that's the right decision. But I think I'd like to see more run from Thomas Bryant, and I just think there's a chance that we might need 5 minutes from Naquan at some point in the playoffs.
Who do you think it's more likely we need 5 minutes from, Naquan or Thomas?
Oh, I think absolutely Thomas. I think Thomas.
Sorry, to be clear, I'm asking not who's been better, because I think it's been Thomas. I think that's relatively indisputable. But like from oh crap, we need minutes in this spot. Is it at the 4 or the 5?
I don't think it matters. I think those two are kind of interchangeable in terms of who you play in that spot. And just thinking back to the Indiana series last year, I've seen Thomas Bryant come in, hit some big shots. Like I think whether it's, because if it's Naquan Tomlin, you're assuming it's going to be alongside one of the Cavs bigs, right? Like I would expect a Naquan Tomlin emergency situation to be, hey, Dean isn't available right now. One of the bigs is in foul trouble and we need to stay big. So in that situation, I think you can play Thomas Bryant, whether it's Jarrett Allen or Evan Mobley, frankly. Like I think you can just kind of have them stretch out and space out in the corner. You just kind of beat teams up with size if it's with Jarrett, or you play him with Evan. I think the answer is Thomas Bryant.
I think so too. Just because you can just say, "Oh, we're not getting the minutes we need from Dean because he's either not playing well or not available." And Evan, you're gonna play all 36 minutes of your 36 minutes at the power forward spot, and we're gonna try to steal 12 minutes with Thomas Bryant in a playoff game. And that's just what we're gonna do. So I think that's fair. And I do think Thomas is really the only one at this point that I'm like, that isn't getting consistent minutes. But like, I also just kind of had a hard time with the question because it's like everyone's gotten minutes whenever they've wanted them all year.
That's a good point. But like even in that Miami game, right? Like there's no Dean and Naquan only plays 5 minutes. Like I think there's some validity to it, right? And obviously this isn't new to have Jalen Tyson and Dean Wade out of the rotation. It's been a couple games now. But
I just kind of go to, I think like 4 things have to happen before the Naquan Tomlin glass gets broken.
Yeah.
Whereas Thomas Bryant, I think, and then like I also like have a hard time because like Thomas, I don't think I'm going to learn anything about Thomas. So maybe that's a little reductionist because I didn't know that his lineups would go well with Evan until we saw it. But like he does kind of just play his way, which I think is kind of nice in a way. It's tough. It's a weird one. I thought about like maybe more Keon run, but then I look at the box score. He played 25 minutes.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the Keon run. I'm also excited, when you have all 4 available and we start to get a better idea of what the staggered pairings are.
I wonder what the pecking order is.
I'm curious to see which way Kenny goes, right? Like who he's prioritizing playing him with. I will say this, going back to the conversation about who starts, I think you're correct in terms of Sam deserving it more. But I also think that this is probably an opportunity where Kenny should do some soul searching. Think, when I get to the playoffs, is there a part of me that really wants to play Max Strus with the starters? And if there's probably a case for just ripping off the Band-Aid, even if you're keeping Max on the minutes restriction, whether it's, 22 minutes a night or whatever the case may be, starting Max, getting him some run with these guys, right? Like you're only talking about 2 games, obviously, because he and Jarrett are out for the Utah one, but just playing Max there to let him get some opportunity with the core. I think there might be some value to that.
Yeah, I think so. I just don't think it's the right choice right now. Even though he's been phenomenal on offense, I still think the foot speed on defense scares me, and I just think his supplementary playmaking off the bench
is valuable.
It just opens up options for them in a way that, like, if Max is doing the playmaking, I think he's been really good as a playmaker since he's been back. That feels like he's done that, snapped into place right away. And maybe you don't need, like, I keep going back to, like, you don't have to play any of your like 9th, 10th guys. You want to play them, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to be like, in any decision you're making from a position of scarcity in the playoffs, typically is one that, you don't want to make. Like, and like, so if we want to play Dennis because we're so excited about his ability to get downhill and point of attack defense and stuff like that, that's cool. But like if the reason you're playing Dennis is I'm worried about the amount of playmaking we have on the floor, if you're operating from that position of scarcity, then keeping Max in a bench role helps you make, in my opinion, helps you make a more informed decision there.
Yeah, and realistically speaking, like I think there's a lot to be encouraged so far with how he's playing, right? Like you
so encouraged.
When you look at the on-court offensive rating, it's 123.2. That's the best on the team, followed by Harden at 122.3, shooting 51% from the floor, 49% from 3 on almost 7 attempts. Like that's encouraging, but some of that, like we know that's going to come back down to earth, right? He is a streak shooter. But I think what's actually encouraging is when you look at the per 36 numbers and you see, Oh, he's actually like rebounding nearly 10 rebounds per game.
Dude, he's been
36.
boarding.
The steals are right in line with career averages, right? Like all the kind of activity stats are there. And to me, that's really, really encouraging because I think that is almost more stable and reliable and an indicator of health than the shooting, which we know is going to come and go. But realistically speaking, it's hard to expect too much from him from a playoff standpoint, just physically, right? Like it's going to take him time. It's tough to be in a position where you're going to need to rely on him. So I think what you're arguing for of keeping him coming in off the bench and Kenny can kind of feel out how those shifts are going. I think there's a real case for that. That's why I said, it starts with reflecting. Is this something that I feel there's a chance that I might be going to in the playoffs? And if so, maybe there's a case for it, right? Just to try to get an opportunity to have that group find its groove, to get in sync, because we know teams move fastest when everyone's in sync. Zoom Workplace keeps meetings, chats, documents, and more together, so your workflow is like a perfect play. Keep work moving and zoom ahead with Zoom Workplace.
Can we talk about the game? Because I feel like
absolutely talk about the game.
They dropped 149 points just in regulation. Just an absolute mondo performance. I'll give you dealer's choice on starting with either Jarrett or Max.
Well, Jarrett, I think I already touched on just because I thought he played so well. Max going supernova was so much damn fun, right? And I think for the Cavs to put up 149, obviously this is an outlier shooting game, right? Like when the Cavs shoot 19 of 41 from three, that's a little unsustainable, right? We will point that out when it happens to other teams. We should point it out when it happens to the Cavs. But to put up 149 in a game where Donovan goes 1 for 10 from the field, I think is bonkers. And Max going absolute supernova was so much damn fun. Right?
I just think I think he's kind of the best candidate for that on the team. In the non-star division, Sam has definitely had some crazy games. Dennis has had 30-point games, but in terms of like within the flow of what we're doing, I'm gonna get us 29. Like that,
he's the least shy. Like Sam will take some crazy aggressive shots, but Max like gets diabolical with his shot attempts, right? Particularly when he's rolling. I just think the confidence, the way that he's flying around out there, I think it's really, really, really encouraging. And I think it feeds into everyone else too, right? Like in 22 minutes for him to have 29 points, 8 rebounds. I thought the connective playmaking was good all night long.
I was really surprised only to see 1 assist next to his name because I felt like he was generating a lot of points for them as a playmaker.
The ball was swinging. Honestly, the ball was swinging, and we talked about it after the loss, but I felt like their offensive overall profile was not bad. Like I thought that the ball kept moving. They missed some open shots. Maybe it was a half second slow. I think this game was an example of just how energizing it is when those open shots start to go in, right? And that just feeds more and more energy. This team, I think one of the things they have to work on is keeping the energy up even when the shots aren't falling, right? Like I think it can have an impact where their shoulders start to shrug a little bit. But when they get hot, they get out in front, it is really, really hard to catch this team offensively.
Yeah, and Max is kind of the tender that can spark quite the flame, and he was phenomenal in this game. He said after just kind of felt like he couldn't miss, and it's been kind of a weird was it 7 games since Max has been back. He opens up with 24 points in 23 minutes, then goes 6, 0, 5, 11, 29. So, it's been, I don't even want to say feast or famine because it's not like he's been really bad in the other games. It's just he hasn't been this. And I wouldn't expect this regularly, but like, I really am it's just so nice to have him back. I do think he really materially changes the energy of the team when he's out there. I think the rebounding has been very cool. It's almost like all the gripes about the Cavs on the glass have just been eating at him all year. He's like, I'll do it. Possible. Just really a lot of contested physical rebounds. You can really see it when he's guarding up. And I do wonder if, as he's finding his way up to speed, the power forward minutes aren't the worst thing.
Yeah.
where it's like you're not being asked to go guard, these kind of jitterbug point guards, except on like late switches and things like that. Most can just focus on being a strong, focused team defender. But yeah, man, he was absolutely phenomenal. And it's just so nice to have him back. I just feel like the team, both him and Jarrett. And I do want to talk more Jarrett, because I'm not quite done yet. This is my guy, and he's back, baby. But I just feel like the two of them, there are guys who come who are gone, and then they come back, and you're like, oh, it's nice to have them back. They do some things that are helpful. I think as far as like not stars go, those two probably have the most bang for their buck impact on how the Cavs play of anyone on the roster.
I totally agree. And I think how Max has returned, you talked about the variance in terms of his scoring output. I feel like he has returned better this year than he did last year from a process standpoint. Like, I think he's picking his spots. When he gets hot, he's going to continue taking those shots. But I remember last year when he came back from the foot injury, it was like, Cavs are really rolling. And then, Max would take a pull up three unnecessarily. And it's like, man, like they're kind of like these possessions where maybe the year before we could have needed those shots, and those were the types of shots he needed to take, but the offense was in such a good place that it kind of felt like record scratches. It doesn't feel that way right now. I feel like he's really kind of filling in the gaps, and so I just feel like this is a much better return for him. But I think you're absolutely bang on when it comes to Allen coming back, and just how much better this team looks and feels with them. I think it put Mobley in a position where he was more comfortable right off the bat. You get that big to big playmaking. They have such great chemistry together, and I think it just stabilizes things on the defensive end in such a significant way. Like, you look at it, they have a 111.2 D rating with both of them on the court, a 118.3 offensive rating. Like, that's a lot. That's a really stable combination for a season where there has been a lot of volatility in terms of who's been available and really how those lineups play when they are available.
Yeah. Jarrett, I just thought was really good in this game. And again, he just makes the roster make sense. They had a lineup. I want to say it was James, Jarrett, Max, Sam, and Keon or something like that. And it was like, man, that's like a starting lineup on a really good team. And that's one of our bench units going up against a team's second unit. And like you could tell James was just so happy to have him back in this game. 14 assists to 1 turnover. And, didn't score super efficiently, but like, when you have a 14 to 1 assist to turnover ratio, and they're mostly just passes for dunks, things are going really well. I've talked about this before, especially when only one of the guards has it, which, Donovan obviously had maybe his worst offensive game of the season, going 1 for 10 from the field. In the game, we scored 149, which remains crazy. But like, we've seen zone fluster this team, and they can get a little aimless. They can get a little side to sidey, and semi-contested threes become the default. And I've said this before, but when you let Evan be a lurker on the dunker spot, that is a zone buster with Jarrett's touch. If he's catching it a little bit a step or two outside of the restricted area, catching in the middle against the 2-3 zone. Like, Miami tried to go to that a couple times in this game, and the two bigs just ate it up. I mean, nice to just generally see more than just having Jarrett back, which obviously that's great. Also just means we get more minutes with the new core 4 together. They added about 12 minutes at like a plus 42.9 net rating in that game. They're up to 48 overall minutes and 4 total games played together since the Harden trade.
If you look at the cleaning the glass stats, the core 4 is on the 100th percentile offense, defense, and net rating.
Yeah, they just need minutes because that foursome has only played the 48 minutes together. 130.8 offensive rating and 92.4 defensive rating, and a plus 38.4 net in those 48 minutes. So I just I want to continue to see those guys get reps. I think it's one of the reasons why, I think a lot of people were pretty bummed about the Dean and Jalen press release that they're not going to be on the next road trip. And I'm not geeked about it, but the most important thing for me to see is those four guys play together. So if I get to see that to close the season, then I generally am going to feel like I have better intel going into a playoffs.
Well, as much as we talk about the ancillary pieces, right, whether it's Jalen Tyson, Dean Wade, Keon Ellis, Max Strus, all of that matters, but the core matters the most, right?
The most.
If all four of those guys are rolling and playing at the top of their abilities, they just need one guy to come along for the ride, right? Realistically speaking, right? Where a lot of those kind of ancillary conversations are about increasing the margin for error, right? And having, as you like to call it, pumpkin insurance, right? If someone is off, but getting these guys on the same
track, top four sets the margin for error.
Absolutely. It is the absolute most important thing. And I think it's what sets them apart, right? When you look at the Eastern Conference, if all four of those guys are playing at their 90 to 95th percentile, nobody has four guys that can play at that high of a level, right? Donovan Mitchell is going to be in terms of best player available in the playoffs, he's going to be in those conversations. James Harden is capable of being the best player in a series. Evan Mobley is capable of having a large impact and, be the best number 3. Jarrett Allen is absolutely the best number 4, regardless of who the matchup is, right? So I think getting those guys on the same track is so damn important. And to me, it was also really encouraging to see Evan Mobley bounce back the way that he did after such a poor performance in that first game. You look at the 2 games, he held Bam to 5 of 16 from the floor. We know Bam is one of the best scorers in the NBA, and
in the history of the sport, many would argue.
Yeah, absolutely. And he did it on the offensive end as well, right? With 23 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 10 of 15.
It felt like a nice answer game of yeah, all right, guys, enough.
And ultimately, if you look at the month in its totality, Evans had a fantastic month with one outlier, very poor game, which was on the second night of a back-to-back. I'm not sweating that one. That little guy, I wouldn't worry about that little guy, right? It's I think that we can just kind of brush under the rug and keep it moving, because I think the version of Evan Mobley that we've got as of late has been really, really important.
I did want to give him a very minor compliment from the Miami win on Friday, watching it back this morning. High pointed rebounds. Very, very well. There were a lot of there's a few bodies in the area, but Evan timed the jump perfectly and just caught the ball at the highest possible point he could reach it, which is a lot higher than anyone else is going to be able to reach it on balance. And he had 10 defensive rebounds in this game. I think it really showed. And he was able to
run 2 from the free throw line.
I know, baby. He was able to get out and run, which was really, really nice to see. With those and press the attack and attack with some advantages. I thought he had some really nice rim attacks in this game, even the ones that didn't pan out. Where he didn't let the defender off the hook on the inverted pick and rolls and things like that. Even when he didn't finish, I thought he was really, really phenomenal offensively in this game. I mean, literally everyone except Donovan was, but man, Evan, it did feel like a great answer game for him after catching some big heat.
Yeah, and it was a real maestro game from James Harden as well. Did not necessarily taking over from a scoring standpoint, but 17 points and 14 assists. I thought he was just feeding every single hot hand and just played a completely
and those weren't
game.
I don't know if you saw the Jokic controversy, the 19 assists and 12 of them were on dribble handoffs where Jamal Murray did 14 dribbles. But it felt like all of those were really earned. I mean, I'll have to go back and check, but it felt like a lot of them were pass to catch and shooter or pass to dunk, or to hockey assist to set up a super easy read for who he was passing to. It was total maestro stuff. By the
Yeah.
way, on that particular controversy, I wanted to get off a little
Oh, please
take.
do. I want to hear this.
Isn't it bananas that this one of this sport's 3 most important statistics is something that does not have a definition? like I feel like it's under discussed that an assist could mean any number of things, and it's at the discretion of the scorekeeper.
Yeah, I feel you. I was in my fantasy basketball finals. I had a very commanding lead, and I had a really bad day yesterday, so I will not be winning. And some of those included, I was watching the Philly game, right? Tyrese Maxey came back against me, and just like a little drop off pass, and Kelly Oubre takes like 45 dribbles and he gets the assist, and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, this is brutal. But the only
comparison I can think of that like is like a similarly important and valued stat that can be this broken in its application is like when a wide receiver takes a screen pass for 80 yards. Like the quarterback didn't do anything and got 80 yards tacked onto their season stats. Say
sacks, where it can be a little subjective if it's a full 1 or 1.5. But
it's crazy to me. Assists matter so much in how we evaluate players,
right? Like, well, it's not just assists, right? Like if you go back to like the Michael Jordan MVP, or not MVP, but
the defensive player of the year season.
Right? Where he had more steals and blocks accounted, given to him than the team had in the game, right? Like you're always going to get some creative hometown cooking. John Stockton's assists are another kind of famous example of this. So it's not necessarily new, but
it just feels
wild.
like such a like a. To me, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, I was going to say, in a time where over-unders are so important, right, from a gambling standpoint, and people are doing all these player props, you'd think there would be a push to kind of have a more rigid definition on all of this stuff, right? When money's on the line.
It's just a like indicator to me that like sports was just never supposed to be this important.
It really isn't.
Like it's just like James Naismith's like, hey, he threw it to him and he scored. It's an assist. We'll write it down. And now we're like, well, what's the definition of an assist, James? It's just like, whoa, this was supposed to be. We were just cutting the holes in peach baskets. We didn't know. Yeah. We didn't know that this was going to be $1 billion enterprise.
I still think everyone would be happier if we did away with replay, unless it's a highlight. If it's a possession call by the referee, we don't need to see the replay. Like, let's not go to review. Let's just call it. We can argue about it for all of time, but just keep things moving, man. Like high school rules here. We don't need to have video replay.
Yeah, the money's too big for it, though. Again, it all goes back to like.
But I also see a lot of replays where I think something looks pretty damn clear cut, and I know that I am biased as hell. I know what I am, but I've seen some pretty clear cut stuff go the other direction in ways that confuse me.
Yeah, it's just I don't think we ever expected it to define a catch. It's just sports are too important. So anyway, there's my brief aside.
I liked it.
About assists and them being stupid. Want to talk about the Lakers game just a little bit before we get out of here?
I did. So I was kind of looking ahead to the schedule, and there's really 3 games that I think are the most important, or at least our best chance at a litmus test. And it's the Lakers game as well as these 2 games against the Hawks. The Lakers one is particularly interesting to me just because, they've been playing such good basketball since the All-Star break. And I think it's going to be an interesting test of how the Cavs' point of attack defense holds up, right? Like I think the Lakers are going to drive to the basket a lot. I think who we decide to put on Luka is going to be important. Who we put on Reeves, how we're able to track these guys off ball. I'm more interested in that game from a defensive standpoint than I am from an offensive standpoint. And the Lakers have been playing good 2-way basketball despite having some defensive liabilities. So I'm very, very interested to see, can we keep them out of the paint? Are we able to protect the rim? And basically, are we falling back into some of those habits where we don't trust the point of attack, so we are sending help on the drive, and that is opening up opportunities at the 3-point line.
Yeah, I mean, just and like in the macro, just who gets the Luka draw? That is the one archetype of player that like we don't really have a great like body in house for anymore. Because it used to be Isaac, that would just be our Swiss Army knife defensively.
And he'd always do a really good job on Luka.
Would always do a great job, and then whenever he'd run pick and roll with the bigs, our bigs would do a nice job in late shot clock situations. But now it's like. That is not a good matchup for Sam.
I was about to say, your whole.
This is one you wish you had Jalen Tyson for, just like a bigger, stronger
Dean.
body, or Dean.
Yeah.
I mean, Dean's probably the best matchup. I would say in terms of not fouling, passing him off, and being able to hold his own on switches. So I'll be really interested to see what they do. I think. Part of me is like, just have Evan do it, but then someone's got to get Braun, who is going to cherry pick us to all hell as he did last time. They've been really, really good, but I do think like how we guard Luka will be instructive to how we're going to guard big ISO heavy wings into the future.
And the team that comes to mind is the Boston Celtics, right? Like, I don't think any team presents the exact same challenge as the Lakers from kind of a size, play creation standpoint. But I do think it's the best facsimile of the Celtics that you're going to get, at least in the regular season here. So, again, to your point, I wish we had Dean. I wish we had Jalen. I think that would be really, really interesting. Maybe it's a quick sub in for Keon, right? Like, regardless of who
I don't like that matchup for Keon.
I don't love it. I don't love it either.
I think that's 4 fouls in 12 minutes waiting to happen.
Luka might have 100 pounds on him too, but like maybe
I'd rather put Keon on Reeves whenever he's out there.
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking from a disrupting the dribble standpoint, but you
almost want Keon and Evan playing free safety and just trying to get a 9 turnover night for Luka, but like there really isn't a good solve for Luka right now. I mean, he's in the best form he's been in as a Laker. It's been pretty freaking outrageous. The month of March, which is basically over, by the way. It's not like we're like halfway through. He's averaging 37, 8, and 7 on 49, 39 splits and 9 free throw attempts a game.
Like Naquan would foul out in the first shift in all likelihood. So
he'd manage to get 2 fouls on a single possession, maybe.
It's very, very possible, particularly with the Lakers whistle that might actually come to fruition.
In LA? Come on.
Yeah, that's a tough one. So I think obviously it's not going to be fully illustrative of what the Cavs are capable of doing defensively. But like maybe it's a spot where they're able to come up with some creative solutions, right? Particularly with the 2 bigs back there. What they choose to kind of leave on the table for the Lakers, I think is going to be instructive, right? Because you're not going to be able to take everything away. So it's how can we make them uncomfortable as a collective rather than trying to think of these kind of one-on-one solutions for any of these guys.
Yeah, man, it's they're gonna be tough, especially with where the Cavs are. Felt like last year when we'd play the Lakers, I just kept thinking, what a great matchup for us against these guys. All of a sudden that's a little different, and that's just what the league is. You change your roster, you change your personality a little bit, and all of a sudden teams you hated matching up with, you feel a lot better about. Teams you loved matching up with, you don't like matching up with anymore. But I think if they go beat the Lakers in LA, that's a statement win right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. It'll be really interesting to see what they do with that. We will be podcasting Wednesday night because we do not hate ourselves. And we're not going post game after a West Coast game.
Shot, brother.
So we will be going live Wednesday. Big thanks to everyone that tuned in. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. Click that notification bell so you know when we're going live. If you're listening via podcast and you want to support us, leave us a rating, leave a review, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, and help cook those books. If you want to be part of Chasedown's exclusive Discord chat, send a screenshot of their review to chasedownpod@gmail.com. However you choose to support us, we really do appreciate it. Make sure you guys are staying safe out there. Until next time, go Cavs.